Hey, everybody. So thank you for joining me this evening. I'm so glad that you joined me on a Friday night. I'm excited about this evening and what we're going to talk about. And my guest, sorry, I said with an S. So we're going to jump into that in just a moment. Let me go ahead and get the particulars out of the way, guys. So if this is your first time watching the show, we are streaming live on YouTube. So you can check us out there on our YouTube channel at Made from Scratch Broadcast, or you can go there. You can type in the website at www.youtube.com/the letter C/ Made from Scratch Broadcast. You can go there. We're streaming there live. You can also check out a lot of our past episodes as well. Watch, leave comments, do us a favor. If you're there, hit the like and subscribe button. We do appreciate it. We're trying to build our viewership there. And then you can also hit the notification button. It'll let you know whenever we do go live or when we do post new content. So thank you for checking us out on YouTube. And then we're also streaming live on our Facebook page. You can check us out there at Made from Scratch Broadcast. We are streaming live as well on Twitter, and that is via Periscope. So you can check us out there at MFSB Live on Twitter. You can drop in the comments there. We can pull them up during the show. We can get interactions. You want to drop questions, anything like that. We'll fill them as we go along. And then we're also streaming on LinkedIn Live. So guys, if you're on LinkedIn, again, drop in the comments. We will answer them as we go along. And again, thank you so much for following along the show. And then the last but not least, you can check us out on our website. Excuse me there. We can check us out on the website at www.madefromscratchpodcast.com. Same sort of deal. You can find our past episodes, the videos there to take you to the YouTube link. And then you can also check out our podcast version of the show. That is through Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast. We have it all streaming there as well. And then we also have a live internet radio station that we do stream music, and we stream some of these podcasts too as well. So thank you guys for following along. We got all the particulars out of the way. So let's get started into this evening's guest. So first, let me tell you about one of them. She has her own podcast that she started, I believe, at the beginning of the year. It is called The Teachable Soul. Pretty awesome what she talks about talking about people's mistakes and bringing them to the forefront and how you can share their experiences and learn from them. And then she also has a special guest that she's bringing on the show as well. So without any further ado, guys, help me welcome Kat Daniels to the show. Hey, Kat.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you tonight?
I am doing awesome. So let's start first about talking about a little bit about your podcast before we bring on our other guests. So kind of tell me a little bit about The Teachable Soul and how you got started doing that.
So I was going through a lot at the time when I started it, or when I had the idea for it, rather. My father was sick in October of last year. And I just saw somebody post something about, I know you've been wanting to start a podcast for so long on Facebook, some post, I don't know what it was. And I was like, what? Anybody? Podcast? You can do what? You can create your own show and and so it kind of piqued my interest at the time. And I couldn't really do anything, but I could do all the research.
There you go.
Started doing all the research. And so that, it took us into the holidays. And my dad unfortunately passed away in October. Holidays, and came out the other side. And I realized in January, days after January 1st, that I was depressed as all get out. And I needed to do something drastic to fix my situation. And so I decided to quit my job and start podcasting full time.
Awesome, right? Just go ahead and make the jump, right?
Yep.
Get into it head first. Follow along. It's kind of the same path that I took as well, starting to do this. So, it's not like where you want to, I equate it to like getting into the pool, right? And even though it's hot and you want to go jump in, people like go dip their foot in the water and test it. Not me. I just wanted to jump in, get it over with, and let's get started. So
exactly,
that's the same approach. So before we go any further, let me go ahead and give a couple of shout outs to people who are joining along as well.
Yeah.
On LinkedIn, David Mumford's watching. Thank you so much. He
Thanks,
said he's looking
David.
forward to hearing from you. Khan, thank you, Khan. I always get his name. He's got a really long name, and I don't want to butcher it. But he's actually a pretty cool dude. I've seen him on a few other live streaming shows. So thank you, Khan, for following. And of course, Daniel and Rosie Trevino. So thank you guys so much for following along on the show. Big shout out to you guys. They're kind of close personal friends. So thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Rosie. And then thank you to Ernest as well. He's part of their crew. So you guys are awesome. So now let's talk about your big announcement that you wanted to relay to me today. So kind of hop into it there. The stage is all yours. Tell me a little bit about what you're about to do now.
So in about January, the person I'm about to introduce started his podcast as well with him and a friend. And him and his friend have not worked out as of just like this week. And he approached me and asked me if I would be willing to co-host with him, but also be a business partner. Wow. And so, yeah. So we, Derek and I, have decided that we're going to basically start our own broadcasting production company in general, which will eventually include a lot of different things. But of course, we're starting with podcasting. So
there you go. So guys.
So without further ado,
let's welcome Mr. Derek. I don't want to butcher your last name. So how do you pronounce it, Derek?
It's Hanjora.
Hanjora. Okay, Derek.
Yep.
So thank you for coming on the show as well. So this is kind of a first, just me as well, having 3 guests on at the same time. So this is pretty awesome.
Awesome.
So tell me, Derek, how did the whole process of podcasting start for you? So, each person has their own journey. So I just wanted to know how you actually decided to put together a podcast.
All right. So basically, I've always wanted to, and I've been researching it for a while, especially once I came down diagnosed with my bipolar depression and stuff like that about 1.5 years ago. I wanted to have an outlet for that in order to make sure that I can help myself as well as help other people. And then, I researched, and I just never was able to get it off the ground. Then in December, a buddy of mine and I were going down to a convention, and we just kind of were riff-raffing back and off each other the entire way, 2 hours down, 2 hours back. And on the way back, he looked at me and he said, this would make a great podcast. And I said, you know what, you're right. So we didn't really do anything with it for a couple months. And then we started talking about it and started working on it and kind of really started researching where we wanted to go. And then on March 13th, we debuted the Shut Up Cameron podcast. And we skyrocketed like really, really quickly. It is a comedy podcast that had a mental health focus. However, it was never the central theme, but it was always the underlying theme. Mm-hmm. Because you can't really have a comedy podcast talking about mental health every day.
Yeah.
However, we let people know, hey, this is what it is. Come to us for a laugh. Come to us, to say, hey, I'm having a bad day, so I'm going to go ahead and listen to this guy that I know who goes through the same thing, and kind of go from there. And then over the last couple months, we kept building and building and building. And then in the last couple weeks, me and him had a falling out. And I was lucky enough to meet Kat, and now we've started our new show effective today, actually.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So what so is the theme going to be carried on the same, or is it going to be a little bit different? What's the aspect do you think that Kat's going to bring to the table?
Well, so it's going to carry on the same theme. Again, mental health, comedy, no holds barred, unscripted, no topic off limits type situation. However, Kat can match me word for word. And she brings along a sense of, what's the word? Camaraderie that I haven't had in a while. Yeah. So she brings along a totally different aspect of things. And I think it's been a fun ride so far. We've done now 4 episodes together. We did 3 under the Shut Up Cameron banner. And then that was over on Wednesday, and today we launched our new podcast called Suck It. And that launched tonight, and it's been a fun ride so far.
Yeah. So again, you're you're taking the bull by the horns. You're jumping into this thing, and even now, everything doesn't work out. You know, here's the fun part about having a podcast guest, right? Number one, you can shoot stuff off of each other, right? And I know because I do a podcast. Well, I do a podcast on mental health with the co-host. Her name's Annie Lieb, and we actually do talk about mental health issues, all the stuff that goes on there. But again, you get the you get the interaction, right? You can feel when you're able to connect with somebody and you're talking, and it's straight audio. So, that's one of the cool things about having it. So, how excited are you about this, Kat? I mean, this now that you've kind of thrown yourself into the world of podcasting, number one, now you have a lot of things under your belt.
Yeah,
now you're going to be jumping under a second podcast. So, kind of tell me what your thought process is going forward now that you're going to be handling not one but two podcasts. Tell me about that.
3 actually, but I'll tell you about that in a second.
Whoa. Actually,
I told you
four,
I'm
to be honest.
addicted. Oh yeah, 4. Sorry, 4. I told you I got a little bit addicted.
There you go. Right.
I originally, when I was thinking about doing a podcast, I wanted a co-host because I just thought it would be much more fun and interactive if there were, more than 2 or even 3 people talking. Different perspectives mean a lot to me, and being able to represent different perspectives means a lot to me. So I had always wanted a co-host, but nobody wanted to do a podcast with me when I originally started. I couldn't get my sister to do it or my mom. Everybody was like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. Talk for everybody to hear. No. And I'm like, but it's going to be so much fun. Come on.
Yeah, right. So it's, I guess, same sort of deal here with which it's even multiplied like tenfold for me because number one, can you imagine me saying, hey, first of all, I want to co-host, but you have to make the commitment to come on every single day. So
right. Exactly.
That's a tough mountain to climb with 2 people to ask somebody to say, hey, commit 5 nights a week, do the same sort of thing. So that's why I had to go in and jump into it alone.
Exactly.
Because again, I know that some people, they have different circumstances, different things going on, life happens, this sort of thing. And I know that at least by having a separate guest on every other night,
right.
I'm only interfering in their life 1 night a week, as opposed to saying, I need you 5 nights a week for 25 days out of the month. So
exactly. Same. Yeah. And that's, why I started interviewing as well, because I didn't really know what to talk about all by myself. And I love to talk to people though, and have conversations. So I was like, well, I'll just interview whoever will, come on basically in the beginning. And then whenever Derek approached me about this, I was like, heck yes, I want to go co-host a fun and funny, mental health related podcast with you. That's going to be fantastic. And then he and I did the first episode. And I mean, we got along so phenomenally. It's been so much fun doing this podcast with him. I can't wait.
Yeah, we only had a half an hour conversation prior to our first podcast.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit online, and then we literally talked for a half an hour on the phone the same day that we did the first podcast together last Friday.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a pure connection right away. It was fantastic. I mean, I've done 35 episodes with my prior, partner, and, him and I had a great time and we connected really, really well. But to connect like that with somebody off the first day, I knew it was magic.
You can tell, right? You feel it, right? You start talking to that person, you go, okay, this doesn't just happen out of the blue. That's kind of the same way that I felt when I met my co-host, Annie. We had an hour-long conversation, and we knew that, how this goes along and that sort of thing. So let's talk a little bit more about, the themes of all these shows. So first of all, let's talk about the Teachable Soul. Yeah. Kind of walk us through about what that show is about and what what is the message that you want to share with the show, with your website, and everything that you've incorporated into it so far?
Well, I called it the Teachable Soul because, It was during a time where I was, like I said, I was depressed at the time, and I wanted, I was thinking about, hiring a life coach to figure out, where I wanted to go or what I wanted to do entirely. And then I just, I needed to be teachable in order to be able to hire a life coach. And when I was thinking about doing the podcasting, I was like, but I really want to do podcasting. But everybody that I knew was like, you can't make money in podcasting right now. You can't do that. You can't just quit your job and start making money. That's not how that works. And I'm like, that's not the point.
Right?
That's not the point. And so I was like, I'm going to call my podcast The Teachable Soul. And I wanted it to be about learning from others' mistakes. I am big on stories and storytelling. And I wanted to give other people an opportunity to tell their stories, because I don't really I hear all these podcasts where like famous people come on and talk, but I don't really hear a lot of podcasts where like normal people are interviewed and come on and talk about how they, got their normal day job where they have a happy life. Like that happens.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear about it more. And, there's a lot of trials and tribulations along the way often. And so I wanted to hear about them. And I figured everybody would do.
Yeah. So, and again, it's interesting that you concentrate on, whenever you're talking, the subject of people's mistakes and how they learn from them and how they share their experiences. That's a good way to approach, because again, that's how we learn, right? I mean, nobody got up and started walking when they were a kid. They had to fall down, get back up, learn these mistakes. Same thing with life. As we go through life, we learn what our mistakes are, and the smart ones kind of figure out, well, I shouldn't do it again.
Yeah.
The ones that can't figure it out, those are the ones that say, you know what, why is my life a wreck? Because they're still living that circle of insanity going, okay, what am I doing wrong here? Right.
Yes.
Not ever taking the time to go, okay, well, maybe the problem is the way you're handling your environment and everything that you got going on. So yeah. And then, Derek, kind of tell me about, your journey with mental health. So what was the first thing that you thought about whenever you found out that you were kind of like diagnosed with being bipolar? Is that what you said you had?
Yes.
So what was that like? I mean, finding out that, you've had a lot of things going on in your life, and now you say, okay, now I find out that I'm bipolar. So kind of walk us down that a little bit.
So I've always thought that there was something wrong. You
Yeah.
know, whether it been depression, whether it been anxiety. However, Kat and I talked about this the other day. We were always told to man up, and just deal with it. And I never really, that's what I did. I did the manly thing and said, I'll be fine. So, after 12 years of marriage with my wife, she, constantly saying, Derek, there's something wrong with you. I need you to go seek help, whether it been, fits of anger and, just yelling, not fits of rage, but, just lots of yelling, anger, being set off at the drop of a hat, that kind of stuff, was constant in my life for the longest time. And for a long time, I had an outlet, whether it been mixed martial arts, professional wrestling, before I broke my neck twice. So for the longest time, I did have an outlet so I could kind of release that, those angers and those things. And during that time period, I was in the ring or an octagon, I could say, hey, I'm not myself, and I could be somebody different. But then once I lost that outlet about 6 years ago, I started to notice a difference.
Yeah.
Then in October of 2018, I was having a really rough time at work. My boss was coming down on me really hard, and things were just bad. And what made it worse was I was the best at what I did for my boss, but yet she made me feel like the worst.
Oh, wow.
And so it was like I did all this stuff for her, and she never thanked me. But there was a lot of stuff going on with that. And then during that time, we were in the process of going through a big. I was a retail manager for a store here locally, and we were getting ready to go through a holiday, walk that had brought in all the store managers from across the country to see my store and say, hey, this is what it needs to look like for the holidays. So we're getting ready for that, and my boss was just constantly on top of me, just made me feel like absolutely nothing. And a couple days into it, I was already feeling down. My dad ended up having a stroke, and I almost lost him. So the irony of it all, and the coincidence of it all, and this is how I know that me and Kat are linked, beyond just this podcast, is she lost her father that same month that I almost lost mine, which is crazy. But so anyway, I after the whole thing is over and done with, it's hard to talk about it. So anyway, so after that was all done, I went and took a vacation and kind of decompressed. And during that time period, I went and saw a doctor, and I said, "Hey, there's something wrong with me." So we started, he started evaluating me, and we started looking at things, and I got prescribed Zoloft and Xanax right off the bat because they were like, "Yeah, there's something wrong with you. We just don't know what it is. We're not sure if it's depression or bipolar or whatever it is, but right now we're going to go ahead and treat it like this." About a week on Zoloft, I was driving home. It was my wife's birthday. It was November 2nd. I'll never forget this. It was my wife's birthday. I was driving back from a store, picking up her birthday present. And about halfway home, I started getting suicidal thoughts. And I was determined to just say, end it. I was done. And I sped my car up to about 100 miles an hour during busy traffic, and was going to run through a red light and just hope for the best.
Oh, wow.
But as soon as I hit 90 miles an hour, a song came on the radio. And this song actually is about suicide. And I said to myself, "Oh, yeah." So I pulled over immediately, finished listening to the song, bawled my eyes out, called my wife, then called my doctor, and he's like, "Yeah, stop taking Zoloft. You're done." So I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then he put me on Lexapro at that point. I've been great on Lexapro ever since. But yeah, I'll just never forget, speeding up to about 90 miles an hour, and then this song by a band called Bad Flower. The name of the song is Ghost. It's strictly about suicide. And it came on, like I said, just as I was about to do it, and it saved me. And I was like, damn, it was,
wow.
It was pretty heavy.
No.
And yeah, it was crazy.
This is why, okay, you just enlightened me a little bit on why I love to bring positive messages and creative people to the forefront of my show, right? And this is what I talk about when I say creative people. And so these musicians wrote this song, created, put it out there in the world. They don't know what kind of impact it's going to make on somebody. Impact doesn't have to happen right away. And at that moment, that song was in the right place at the right time where it was supposed to be making impact. So when I tell people who come on here and they talk about we talk about the creative aspect of life, I say, put it out there. Put your music, put your content, put your writing, your words, your whatever it is that you're doing creatively, put it out there because it is supposed to reach somebody when they need it, at the moment that they need it. So I tell everybody, you have to talk. If it is whatever it is you're talking about, it's going to connect with somebody somewhere. It saved your life. A song pulled you out of that moment.
Yep.
That's the beauty of creativity. It has no limit. It can do so many wonderful things. It can take you in a moment. It can bring you out of a moment. It can do all these wonderful aspects to it. So, man, that is awesome that not awesome that you were going to thinking about suicide, but awesome.
Right.
Yeah. But, that's another thing too. I mean, the stigma for men, over the years has always been, just like, again, men up. And over the last 2 years that I've been diagnosed, year and a half that I've been diagnosed, I've noticed a lot of other men, bands coming out with songs dedicated to this stuff. And that's really kind of, another thing that made me want to do this podcast is because, you know, through their message of music and stuff like this, that they're helping people. You know, a band, you know, by the name of Falling in Reverse came out with a song in December called Popular Monster. It's strictly about, you know, mental health and how he doesn't, when he gets into his fits of rage, he feels like a monster and he doesn't know anything, you know, anything about it. You know, a couple years ago, a band by the name of Nothing More came out with a song called Jenny, talking about his sister, you know, and his mental health, you know, issues with his sister and stuff like that. There's so much about it now. And I always, especially now during this month of May, you know, being Mental Health Awareness Month,
yes,
my biggest thing is when I talk about it to other people now, it's breaking the stigma. You know, there's nothing wrong with being diagnosed as bipolar. There's nothing wrong with being depressed. There's nothing wrong with having anxiety. There's nothing wrong with being a paranoid schizophrenic, because that's not who you are. You're a human being that has to deal with a disorder, but that doesn't define you.
that's
And
right.
that's my message. It does not define me. I am not a person with, I'm not a bipolar person. I'm a person with bipolar disorder. But it does not define me. I am a person first.
That is a wonderful message to get across. This is why I love talking about the topic of mental health. It's such an interesting fact of life that,
Right.
again, it doesn't have to define you as a person, and you have to understand, number one, there is nothing wrong with you. You're not broken.
Yeah.
It is not. So if you're thinking inside of your head, I'm broken, something's not right with me. Well, it's probably because there is something stemming underneath there that you probably have to, first of all, break the stigma of reaching out and saying, I'm not scared to say that I have a mental health issue. Because again, back in the days, if you said that, people would say, oh, you're loony, you're crazy. They say all these adjectives to kind of make you feel terrible. So you would have to, I would go, I don't want to say that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So breaking the stigma of that, sharing it out there into the world and saying, okay, you know what? I am big. I'm bad. I'm this person, but I'm also vulnerable. So yes. I know the fact that I have to deal with this and make it a part of my life, but it does not have to define my life. So that's awesome that you're talking about that. You're getting that message out there. So, you know, Kat, you were telling me that you guys have a couple other podcasts that you're planning. So let's walk through those as well and kind of tell me what the message of each one of them, or what the topic or what the genre is on these other podcasts that you're doing, because that's very ambitious of you guys to go out there and start doing this. And I love the fact that you're jumping in the cold water, just going, you know what, I'm going for it all the way. I love that fact that you're chasing it. So tell me a little bit more about that, guys.
So one of the ones that I'm going to create is specifically it's going to be for self-published authors. And my plan is to read and review. So I'm going to read like at least a little excerpt or maybe a couple of pages off of the book, but it's only going to be from self-published authors. I cannot find another podcast that is only directed at helping self-published authors get their books read. And I have read, since starting my podcast, I have read multiple books that are self-published that are phenomenal books, and they need to be out there. And I'm like, this message needs to be out there. The story needs to be told, and it needs to have a platform. And podcasting, I think, is, you know, I know I'm a little biased, but it's a great platform for it anyway. And so I'm super excited about that. And I also noticed that there's no, I tried to go get a self-published author at a library local to me, and they don't have any self-published authors in the library. And so I'm hoping to be able to figure out a way to change that along the way as well.
Yeah. So again, I know this for a fact because I've been involved in I'm working on getting my book published, and I know so many authors in the world who self-publish their books now.
Yeah.
Depending on what they're writing, what their genre is, and that sort of thing. You know, here's the thing that I found kind of difficult, because essentially the idea when I first started this was to kind of be a forum for authors, writers because they're creatives, right? A lot of them are afraid to come on video. So you probably will have an advantage doing podcasting because they don't have to be seen. They don't have to be, in sight. So they can just be at their home behind a desktop computer talking, that sort of thing. So that is one of the advantages of doing a podcast.
It is.
The fact that you can have people on and they can speak and pretty sure they're pretty comfortable speaking. Again, my advantage and my disadvantage is video is because, again, with video, you're getting maximum exposure. So people kind of know. I know who Kat Daniels is now. I've seen her on video. If I go YouTube, Kat Daniels, you'll be able to find you. Or if they go look at Derek, they'll be able to find both you guys. So that's the advantage of doing video. Disadvantage of it, of course, is you get that person that's shy, doesn't want to come on video, and I have to bypass having an interview with them because they don't want to come on. And it's the catch-22 of doing a live stream. But again, one of the advantages of doing a podcast. So yes, I love both because I do both. I do a podcast and I also do live streaming. So yes, I love both parts of that aspect. And this is why I wanted to do an internet radio station, because at some point I did want to have someone come on my show or somebody who could do a live podcast. So and then have a radio station that's kind of attached to it that has a website already built in so that you could put it in and say, hey, look, this is the live podcast show that they do every Thursday. 5:00, whatever it is, to have it out there, to have the opportunity to say, okay, you're doing a live streaming podcast. And then again, also have the ability to, if you wanted to take the audio from that and put it into a podcast form, to put into whatever podcast hosting service that you use. So whether it's Anchor, whether it's Lisbon, whether it's Spreaker or any of those other podcast hosting platforms. So again, you get the ability to do so much. As I said, that's why I wanted to do it in the first place. Because then I get to add the music aspect of what I'm doing here. So when I have musical guests on, they can perform live music while I'm doing a live show. And then afterwards and say, hey, send me some of your music. I upload it to my internet radio station. So it plays there constantly. It's my radio station playing right now while I'm having this conversation. Yeah. So again, that's one of the advantages of having your feet in just about anything that has to do with media. So, and again, you're talking about doing self-published authors. That's a whole nother world that I'm trying to incorporate everything that's going on here, because there's so many people that write books. There's so many people that have a good word, good message, good content, and yet there's no forum to share this from unless they have unless they take the time to go invest in their own Facebook group or their own thing. I mean, a lot of them are just out there and they're depending on platforms like Amazon to kind of showcase what they do. And I said, first of all, that's not how advertising works. You're not just going to be able to put it on Amazon and become an Amazon bestseller. You have to push and get that out there for people to go find it. So that's awesome that you're doing that as well. So what's the other podcast that's going to be going for you guys?
All right, so the other one is going to be the other one is going to be a podcast that I'm doing. So her and I are going to have the two podcasts that we're doing together, Teachable Soul and Suck It. Yep. Two polar opposite, ones. She's going to have her publishing one, and I'm going to have a music one as well.
Yeah.
And my music one is actually co-hosted with a lady by the name of Nicole Carson, who lives out in LA. And she's actually a huge member of the indie rock scene out there. Member of like 3 different bands, very intertwined with people that work at iHeartMedia, some of the bigger bands. She collaborates a lot with some of the bigger, artists, and does live streaming and stuff like this. So she's like all over the place as far as the indie music scene in LA goes. So her and I are going to do it basically an indie music show. Where we're going to talk about indie music. We're going to talk about, underground stuff. We're going to talk about the future of music. We're going to talk about, just bands in general, music in general. We're going to bring on bands from around the country that we can connect with, interview on that show. And then throughout the week on Suck It, we're going to go ahead and feature them as well. So we're going to kind of incorporate the two shows together. However, there will be two separate entities. But we're going to make sure that, when we do promote one thing, whether it be on her publishing show or the Teachable Soul, we talk about it across all platforms in order to get the message out there to everybody. But the Indie Rock show is going to be called No Sex, No Drugs, but a Whole Lot of Rock and Roll.
There you go.
Yep, and that comes out, and that starts tomorrow. Her
Okay.
and I are recording tomorrow, and it'll publish tomorrow night. And I'm really, really excited about it. It's going to be a different type of podcast than I've been doing, and it's going to be really fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And they'll all be available on Monday at our website as DCK Productions.
Awesome. That's what I was going to ask you next is what is the general umbrella that you guys are going to be creating under? Because I do have the same sort of thing. That's what behind my logo is back there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing I'm also doing video production and editing. So
Right.
I'm kind of just, again, kind of like what you guys are doing and just throwing myself into every single form of media. And they are under separate entities, but yet they all fall under one umbrella on how I create and share them. So that's awesome that you guys are jumping into this and doing it. So what's the, going forward, what's the game plan? What's the, what's the ultimate goal for you guys as far as building these shows up? Is there, some kind of goal of actually starting your own affiliate network of podcasters, or if there, what are some of the ideas that you guys are throwing out there? Because again, this is a whole open world now, and you can create as much as you want. So any plans for you guys?
So to answer your first question, you hit the nail on the head. We do want to go ahead and create an affiliate network of podcasters as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be creating digital media. Not really going to go into too much detail on that right now, because there's still some semantics that need to be worked out between her and I. Just know that it's going to be social media productions and commercials and stuff like that. But where we're going with that, I'll kind of leave to the back burner for right now.
Gotcha.
We're also looking to do some publishing stuff as well. So we're looking to be an all-around publishing company. However, we're going to focus strictly on the little guy.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's pretty interesting that you're putting these things out there, and that's at least have some kind of goal in mind. Because again, that's the same sort of deal with me. People ask me what's the end goal, and I tell them, well, I want to have my hand in just about every single form of media that I possibly can.
Yeah.
To my knowledge is people, and you guys will probably hear this if you haven't heard it already. They tell you, well, you know what, you got to pick your niche and just stay in your niche and find your little bitty corner that you're going to go get in, right? And they want you to tell you, hey, take this small piece of the pie and go eat that, and that's what you need to concentrate on, right? That's how you're gonna grow. And my thing is, why do I want a slice of the pie when I can have the whole damn pie right here?
Right.
Why wait? Why try to say, you know what, I'm gonna eat a little bit at a time? No, give me the whole damn thing. I want to work on it and build in every single aspect. Because again, starting all these projects and starting everything that you're doing, you guys are gonna hear the same thing that I'm hearing. You're gonna burn out. You're going to burn out. You're going to, there's no way you can keep up at this pace. There's all these things that they're going to try to tell you.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you that's not the case. I'm doing all this stuff here by myself. I continue to create by myself. Now, at some point, I would love to have people to come into the show and delegate and do these other things, but you have to grow it to that point, right? You have to get to that point where you have people that can handle this aspect of it. But you know what? By that time, I'll have the avenues already open of saying, well, now I have to I want to jump into internet radio. Nope, I'm already doing it. Oh, I got to jump into podcasting. Nope, I'm already doing it. Oh, I got to jump into video editing and commercial work. Nope, I'm already doing it. And now I'm doing live streaming. So I've covered all my basics. And even then, oh yeah, I got to write books. Nope, I'm already doing it. So all this stuff that I'm taking on and putting on myself, I know that you guys have a lot of the same fire and ambitions and things like that as well. So, let me ask you guys about, and this is, one of the things that I usually ask all my guests, right? With both of you guys, and I want to hear an answer from both of you. I always ask every single one of my guests that I have on, I say, what is the one thing when the book is written on you and done and your life's over, of course, we're all going to die, but what is the one thing that you want to be remembered for, and what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind for the world? So kind of walk me through that a little bit and tell me what you guys are. I know it's kind of deep and it's kind of...
No, it's okay. Well, it's funny that you were talking about, people telling you to niche down and stuff, because at first, when I told people I was going to start the Teachable Soul, they were like, well, who's your target audience? Who is your target audience? And I was like, I mean, anybody who wants to listen and, be a teachable soul. And they were like, but no, you need to niche down. And I'm like, that feels so restricting to me, and I can't stand it. I can't.
So
your opinion, I appreciate what you're saying. I will take it under advisement, but I can't.
And I feel the same way.
Limiting my options, right?
Yeah, I mean, I felt the same way. People said the same thing to me. Yeah. And, they also said, we'll also, make sure that you put out, 8 episodes all at once. Therefore, people can get an idea of who you are. They can go back and listen and and make sure that the content you put out there is the best you can put out there. I don't believe that at all.
Right.
Because the thing about it is, I think you need to flood the market with as much content as you possibly can, and then figure out, what works and what doesn't work, and then be able to then tweak it from there. You don't have to niche down, but you can find out, okay, wait a second. So I can do an all-inclusive podcast, but I need to kind of have a focus here, because this one had 5,000 hits, but this one only had 100 hits. So kind of figure it out from there. So that's kind of, one of the things that I wanted to kind of throw out there. But as far as your original question, Kat, want to go first on that one?
Sure. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, as far as my legacy, and I want to be known for helping people. But I also kind of want to be, Dolly Parton is my hero. I want to have my own empire. I want to have my own, I want to have my own theme park named after me. Right. In Kansas, because that's where I'm from, and it's going to have a rainbow for. I'm going to take advantage of it all.
So, have you heard? I mean, okay, so there was a podcast about her called Dolly Parton's America, and I don't know if you listened to it. Awesome podcast. They were very, very thorough on what they did, right?
Yeah.
And they were talking about her songwriting skills. I mean, they said that I believe it was Mel Tillis. God, who was he? I can't remember if it was him, but he was. They were both writing for the same time for the same guy, and he was cranking out songs at once a day, once every other day. He said she was cranking out 2, 3 a day, and it came so easy for her. She was like a machine, and again. A genius at the wrong job is fairly average. So if you put somebody who's supposed to be doing these things in the right place at the right time, they blossom. Their creativeness just goes off the charts. Yeah. So, I love the fact that you at least have these ambitions of saying, you know what, I want it all. There's nothing wrong with saying that. I want to tell people, why put limitations on a dream, on a vision, on a goal, on any of these things? Why would you want to put a ceiling on how far or how abundant you can be?
Exactly.
That's never made sense to me.
No.
And again, that's the whole thing about niching down, right? Is they say, oh, to me, that's again, same sort of thing. You're putting a limitation on. Now, I get it. If you're passionate about that one thing and that's what you want to talk about, awesome.
Right.
Stick with it, bro. Yeah. If you're talking about just guitars and certain kind of guitars, and people who play certain musicians who've played guitars, left-handed, right-handed, double stacks, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If that's your niche and that's what you want to talk about, and people will find it interesting, yes, stick to it 100%. Throw all your passion into it. You're going to find your audience. You're going to find your viewers. But that does not mean that does not work the same for everybody. People were kind of like with me. Yeah, people were kind of like that with me at the beginning. What is your show is about? When I tell people I'm about the creative process and positive messages, they're like, well, that's too general. That's too general of topics to make happen. And yet here I am doing a show 5 nights a week and making it happen. How? Because that's what I'm passionate and that's what I'm driven to share. And people are going to find my message. I don't care if it's today. I don't care if it's in 2 weeks. I don't care if it's in 2 years. Somebody will find it. It's going to connect with somebody. And to me, that's all that matters in the end game is this is what matters. As long as, again, it can make somebody save a life. It can change a life. It can do all these other things.
Yep.
I don't even have to be here for it to happen. Tomorrow could be my last day on this earth. And yet everything that I've created so far, somebody will go back and watch it. It'll make sense for somebody to just go click. There it is. That's what I need in my life. Yeah. So let's talk about you, Derek. Let's go into your answer a little bit there and talk about that.
All right. So the sarcasm in me is really, really coming strong on this one. So in all seriousness though, my actual idol in life is actually Walt Disney. So
he's my number 2, not gonna lie.
Creating a legacy, that he's built would definitely be something that I would be honored in even having a 0.0001% of, and leaving, if you would have asked me this 3 years ago, I would have loved to have been, here lies Derek, the world's biggest asshole. And I would have been honored to have that title. Now I'm willing to take the second biggest, but, I just want to, in the end, I've gone through a lot in the last year and a half. And in the end, if I can just help one person, that's all that matters to me.
Again, right?
And another aspect for me is, I realized when I was doing this podcasting that if anything ever does happen to me, my kids have my podcast, they have all my recordings. And if they ever in the future, if they have to live without me, they'll have those recordings of me and how, I want them to move forward in their lives.
Yes, that is exactly what this is kind of like for me. I tell them, this is my journal to seeing who their father was. As a person, we all see our fathers as one thing as a kid. It's a totally different thing to see them as an adult. So you see this now and you go, okay, I know what my father was when I was a kid, and now you see him as a person and you understand a lot of decisions that they made, a lot of the reasoning behind what they did as parents. So hopefully my kids see this at some point in their lives, not now, maybe 10, 20, I don't know, when I'm not here, but they'll be this imprint to go, man, dad was this or dad was that. And again, to me, what I'm building here, I'm kind of like you, Derek. If I can be a 0.00001% chance at Walt Disney, my life was worth every single moment that I've spent doing this. So that's a great answer. That's one of the better answers I've heard in a very long time. Because again, he's not even here, and the impact that he's created has stretched for years and generations.
Oh man!
And
it continues for generations.
Oh, it will, 100%. And to go back to what Kat said, as far as if there's ever a point where I'm not here, there'll be recordings of me during my podcast, and my kids can always go back and listen to. I'm I don't think I want that for my kids because some of the things that we talk about.
Okay, you have a point, but
so you know,
podcast too.
yeah. So maybe we want them to go back and listen to the Teachable Soul, but we do not want them to go back and listen to Suck It. I can tell you that much.
No, but again,
well, after we're gone, they can listen to.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
And then they'll realize how insane we were.
Yeah, a little bit. And they'll be like, "Oh, okay, I get it."
That makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah. Right. At that point, that's when the light bulb goes off and said, "Now I know why Dad was the way he was."
Right.
Awesome. So guys, kind of tell me where people can reach out to you, where they're going to be able to find all this information. If you guys want to share that with me, and let people know. What are the plans? Like, how often are you guys going to be dropping, and kind of the website where everybody can go to find a lot of this stuff. And because again, you guys are creating a lot of content and people are going to want to be finding it. So kind of walk us through that a little bit. Tell me where they're going to be able to find your podcast, and then connect with you, Derek, and then connect with you, Kat.
Well, The Teachable Soul currently is available at theteachablesoul.com. You can email me at theteachablesoul@gmail.com if you want to be on it, or if you're an author and want to come on my new show, please feel free to email me at theteachablesoul@gmail.com. But I think we're going to move all of that over anyway to DCK Productions as of this weekend. So
yeah.
Awesome.
You can also
and then, so as of right now, you can reach her on Instagram at The Teachable Soul, and then again, her teachablesoul@gmail.com. You can hit me up on Instagram at DH_awesome on Instagram. And then our new podcast page is actually Suck It Podcast at Instagram, all one word, no dots, no underscores, nothing, just Suck It Podcast, all one word. And that's where you can find us there. And we're available everywhere podcasts can be found, on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, everywhere.
Yeah. And that's 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And The Teachable Soul is once a week, usually on Mondays. And I'm going to do my author podcast bi-weekly. And I think every Saturday is going to be the music podcast, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're going to be out there 5 days a week, putting out content. And then even after that, once we get these all off the ground and completed, there's even more to come. So to all my haters, there's more to come.
And lovers.
Right. Awesome, guys. Awesome. Love that you guys are both out here doing it and chasing it. You ever need me for anything, holler at your boy. I'm always open. I love music. I am a huge music fan. It does genres, and I can go through and talk about just about any type of genre of music. I grew up, in learning about music through, just about every single person that I connected with as a youth. So for me, it was rock and roll, hip hop, rap, metal. I started listening to classical music. It's just my taste is like all over the map. I'm like music vomit. Just whatever kind of thrown out there, I'll listen to it. And I love the fact that you are doing a podcast on the local indie scene. I think indie artists need those forums to kind of get out there and be able to share their music, be able to share what they're about and those passions. So that's awesome that you're getting it out there, my friend. That's cool.
We appreciate that.
So guys, thank you so much for coming on the show, guys. I don't know what to say except it was a pleasure getting to meet you, Derek. It was a pleasure getting to talk to you, Kat.
Yes.
Hopefully I'll get to do this again with you guys. I would love to have you on again once I decide on doing the second go round, because I do like to do updates, have people come on, talk about where they are in their plans and the development of what they're creating. So guys, hats off to you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Everybody, thank you for following along. Thank you for watching the show this evening. Everybody that interacted. Thank you so much, David Munford, Beth Crosby. There were so many people. I'm trying to go through the screen. There's so many. Oh, Alenta Scott, thank you. Brooke Gelfand, thank you so much, guys. Interaction was crazy. It's hard to keep up with the comments sometimes. So,
Yeah,
guys, check you guys out. Thank you so much, Derek. Thank you so much, Kat.
absolutely.
Guys, have a
Thank you
great
for having
weekend.
us.
Yeah, guys, y'all have a great weekend. Stay safe. Do all your good social distancing things. Just be careful out there. It is still a crazy world, even though things are opening up. Be safe, be cautious. Peace, love, and harmony, the whole 9 yards. And I'll be back Monday, 7 o'clock, guys. Y'all have a great weekend. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Peace.
All right. Well, if I would sign off if I could get the text.